Good evening. My name is Vince Novelet. I'm going to call to order this March 8th, 2021, at 7 p.m. Meeting to order of the Speedway Town Council. Just going to give a roll call. Eileen Fisher on my far right.
Good evening.
Next to her is David Lindsay.
Good evening.
To my far left is Town Clerk Manager Jacob Bladesdale.
Good evening.
Next to him is Councilor Gary Pettigo.
Good evening.
And next to Gary is Gary Race.
Good evening, everyone.
In the audience also is Bob Clutter, our town attorney. Good to see you, Bob. First off, I want to pledge allegiance. Everybody please rise. Raise the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. These minutes have been distributed to the council. If there's no changes or corrections, these minutes will be approved as submitted. Hearing none, they're approved. Next is a proclamation honoring Rodney Ferguson, and I'll hand this off to David. He is the liaison for the police department.
Rod, if you can step forward, please.
Thank you, sir.
I spoke to Rod about this, and I was council president last year, as everyone knew, and this thing called COVID hit, and Rod retired in the middle of COVID. And we kind of fell behind in getting some stuff done, but we wanted to make sure that Rod is honored for his work and dedication to the town. So if you let me read this out loud. It says, whereas Rodney Ferguson was born and raised in the town of Speedway, living on Schoolwood Drive. And whereas Rodney attended Speedway schools and is a proud 1980 graduate of a Speedway High School, home of the Speedway Spark Plugs. And whereas Rodney was hired as patrolman with the Speedway Police Department on October 9th, 1987, and was promoted to the rank of sergeant on March 20th, 2009. And after 33 years of dedicated service to the department, Rodney retired on June 12th, 2020. And whereas Rodney proudly served in various roles during his years working for the Speedway Police Department, these roles included, this is going to take me a minute, Deer Officer, McGruff the Crime-Fighting Dog, Certified Crash Investigator, Firearms Instructor, Emergency Vehicle Operations Instructor, Advanced Emergency Vehicle Operations Instructor, SWAT Team Member, and Motorcycle Officer. And whereas the citizens of the town of Speedway and the Speedway Town Council wish to express their sincere gratitude and appreciation for Rodney's 33 years of service to the Speedway Police Department and the town of Speedway, and a lifetime of commitment to our community, the state of Indiana, and the United States of America. Now therefore, let it be resolved that the Speedway Town Council does hereby proclaim the 8th day of March, 2021, as Rodney Ferguson Day in the town of Speedway, adopted this 8th day of March, 2021, by the Speedway Town Council.
Thank
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Turn around like Kelly, get a big picture.
There we go.
And then Chief and Assistant Chief, you can come in too. You know you're going to get your picture last time. I did not. I did not.
He's perfect for you, Jimmy.
I am.
I'd say smile, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know. Drew a smile on there. Well, thank you.
He did a good job putting this together.
He did. He did surprise my friends the hell out of me with it.
You can,
Thank you.
I think here we got some more
Yes.
pictures up here too.
Yes.
You want to stand at the lectern and we'll, I'd love to get a picture, but.
Okay.
Oh, what do I need to do?
Look at Gary.
My phone to work right. Rodney.
Here you go.
You can step back here.
Yes.
Rodney, I really appreciate all the years that you spent doing a hard job, and, you should be proud of your service to the community, the Speedway, because Speedways are proud of you.
Yes, I want to thank everybody because it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of such a great organization and profession. I've worked with a lot of awesome men and women with this department, with the present company and everything else. You couldn't ask for a better group of men and women. So.
Well, thanks again for coming tonight. Any other comments?
Yeah, for sure. Rodney, and for the public, Rodney and I were in the same high school class and ran around a little bit when we were kids.
Yes, we did.
And I never would have dreamed you'd have been a police officer. And I think the biggest reason is you're such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Police officers don't always get that well, I don't know, that people don't necessarily know that about police officers. They may think they're this or they're that, but not only were you a nice guy when we were kids and as a young man, but you've retained that really nice guy to this community. And I know, you didn't necessarily live in Speedway. You lived very close to Speedway, but you've loved this community
Yeah.
all your years of service. And I guess I get a question for you. Which of the roles that you had, just some of the roles David listed off, there's many more things that you did, but which are some of the things you've enjoyed the most?
I think the biggest one was being a sickle officer. But the other one, as far as really the reward, I'd have to really say it was the being a DARE officer.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah.
Let me see, I think, if I'm right, I'm not going to pat myself, but it's like, it was one of those things where we have at least three officers that I had in my DARE classes through the years that are police officers on our department. One's a lieutenant and two are sergeants now. And I've got other officers from other agencies on county and well, they're not Metro now, that were in my class as well. And it's like every so often we reminisce about things and everything else. And it's like that when I talk with some of the other kids and stuff around, like during the summertime, summer breaks, and they were saying, "Hey, you were my DARE officer." It's like, that was a good feeling because you really made an impact at times. So that was probably the DARE officer role was probably the one I really enjoyed. I did it for, I think it was about 10 years or so in the school, so I got to know a lot of kids
Right.
and stuff, so I enjoyed that a lot. So,
Well, fantastic. Any other comments?
I was asked to share stories, Rod, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. He was a nice guy, but he was, we had a lot of fun too, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't talk about all those, but.
yeah.
I know the assistant chief could probably share some with us, too.
That's your limitation. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
No, I have to say that that was, I learned a lot from my father-in-law, that's, God rest his soul. Basically taught me that, be kind to everybody. And I know I really got to thank my wife for putting up with everything, the 33 years of every time we would start something else, it's like I would say, I would like to get on the SWAT team. And it was bad enough at first wanting to become an officer. It's like, oh no. And it's like, now I said I wanted to be a SWAT officer. Are you serious? And it's like, and then it was like, I want to be on sickles. Are you kidding me? Are you trying to kill me? And so she's stood the test of time, and she's backed me up for all those years. So I got to give her a big hand.
So we should be thanking her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Great.
But I learned a lot, like I said, it's, you treat people like you want to be treated, so.
Yeah.
Try to put that out there for all the other guys and gals and stuff like that when we would run on stuff, because I know some of the guys they would do their job, which they did a beautiful job.
Yep.
I can't say enough about our men and women. But the old man would, kind of be there still after they have left, and they've come back to check on me to see if, the sergeant's still, he's still talking to him. But that's just the way I am. So I thank you so very much. It's, like I said, it was a privilege and an honor to work in the town of Speedway and work for the best police department, I think, around.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
No, yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is a request for a special event on May 18th, 2021. It's the Taco Run Indy. Please step forward.
Good evening. Get to follow a big celebration like that.
No, absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
good stuff. My name is Lee O'Connor. I own Racemaker Productions. It's been a hiatus for us doing events, but fingers crossed and knock on all the wood we can. We're getting back to racing. And so I know the big thing with Taco Run Indy that you guys will probably want to hear is how we're going to do food this early with the pandemic hitting. So we are basically planning a normal 5K. We're working with our vendors, primarily Tacos and Tequila, possibly a couple other restaurants, depending on the load they can carry, to do to-go boxes. And so people can go to the restaurants and still kind of support Main Street. But the race itself would not, at this point, have food at it. So we're basically looking at a standard 5K. We've got, I think you guys have the health and safety plan, but we've been doing quite a few races basically since August of last year, doubling the size of our start line. We basically start 5 people at a time, and it's more of a time trial type start. We're looking to cap this race at 750 participants, and so about 22 to 24 minute window to get everybody started. Across the line, where typically 750 people would be, 6 minutes to get everybody across the line. So it makes it significantly longer, but it keeps everybody spread out, those pinch points that are critical. Daredevil is willing to host again. They've got about an acre of property, and so we'd expand on all of that to host the whole thing. That's the gist of it. The course is the same course we've been racing for years between the what was the Hops and Flip Flops, now Daredevil 5K, and this one. I think the chief and Captain Alexander have both reviewed that. I won't speak for them, but I think they're good in favor of that. So yeah, any questions?
No, and this is a run and a walk.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's a run walk. In fact, previous years we even had the 0.0 taco run to the bar, so people just walk under the start line and then walk straight to the taco bar. A lot of spouses, significant others, and stuff will take advantage of that. But it's definitely a fun event to celebrate Speedway in May and race cars and tacos and all things in between. So it is on Tuesday night. That's an odd thing. But for Taco Tuesday, it's just something, we're sitting there bored and coming up with ideas for events.
Oh, that's good. That always, appreciate you bringing that to Speedway, to especially help us out on the Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's
So,
the vendors, Daredevil and Tacos and Tequila. When it was Marcia and now Gerardo, they both love it because Tuesdays is a crazy day at the restaurant. So
sure. Is there any other questions?
No, I'll make a motion that we approve the special event on May 18th as presented to be the 2021 Taco Run Indy.
Okay, I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. We'll probably be
forward
back
to it.
soon for Daredevil 5K with the running club.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right,
Great.
Thank you. Have a
fantastic.
good evening.
Okay, next on the agenda is appointments to boards and commissions. We still have a few boards and commissions that are still open. Want to go ahead and open that up?
Sure. Mr. President, the Arts Commission is one that really needs the most attention. I would suggest that we make appointments to it this evening. And I'd like to nominate two persons, and those two persons would be Katie Meyer and John Miller.
I will nominate Misty Clay and Bruce Levy.
Okay.
Nominate Chris Noshbing.
I think it's Nussbaum.
Noshbaum.
Yeah.
I move nominations be closed.
Second
We can't
that.
hear you.
Pardon me?
We can't hear you.
We nominated John Miller, Katie Meyer, Misty Clay, Bruce Levy, and Chris Nussbaum.
And then,
Did I say that correctly?
yeah.
Yes.
So you made a motion to close the nominations, and
Yes, I make
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
No, I think I would
Yeah.
make a comment. I've had meetings with Katie Meyer and conversations with Bruce Levy, both of which have served on the Arts Commission previously. They're both still interested in serving, and I think there's definitely an interest, after talking to them and some others, in seeing the arts continue to just do what they do, but come alongside parks, come alongside redevelopment, and some of the areas that we're continuing to develop in town. So it'll be exciting and interesting to hear some of the goals that they have and the plan that they'll develop. As a pretty new group of leaders here. I think Katie's been on a year, and Bruce has been on a year too. So it's really a new group for the most part. So that's my only comment.
Any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the 5 nominations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Any other boards or commissions for tonight? Hearing none, move on to the next on the agenda. Next on the agenda is Ordinance 1338, an ordinance amending Ordinance 1336, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid to certain officers' positions, jobs within the town of Speedway for the year 2021. Jacob, you want to give us a heads up on this?
Sure. Yeah. So 2020 was an interesting year out from another number of perspectives. One of those certainly financial, making the budget writing process and salary ordinance process pretty complicated. About through September of last year, the town had received about 2/3 of the revenue it had received over the same period the prior year, without any clear understanding of what that was going to look like going forward and what challenges would lie ahead. We certainly still have more ahead, but at that time it was particularly uncertain. Fortunately, at the end of the year, and by the end of the year I mean exactly the very last day of the year, we received our final property tax payment, and it was good. It didn't quite get us to the revenue amount that we had in the year prior, but it got us very close to that, about $10 million of revenue versus 10.25 the year prior. So I've passed that information to council, and of course it's also posted publicly through Indiana Gateway, the state's transparency portal for local government finance, and provide that information. So council's expressed a desire to look back at some of the salaries in the public safety salaries. The decision was made earlier to do a 1% raise, and the contract with the union had contemplated a 3% raise for the year 2021. And now that revenue is looking like it's in a better position than where it looked, certainly when we were in September, I know at that point if someone had said you're going to get this close, I would have taken that in a heartbeat at that time. But now that we've kind of looked at it and have more information, council wants to go ahead and look at doing the 3% raise, I believe, for those union employees. And so that is what's contemplated in Ordinance 1338.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve Ordinance 1338 as presented, and I'll leave it at that.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on 1338?
I'd just like to point out that to add to what Jacob described as he presented this, that last year, about this time, maybe a little bit later when COVID hit, David, as president, and Vince, as vice president of council, sat down and met with both our fire and police department representatives and let them know that we had significant concerns with where monies were going to be, and they were very helpful. And I think, and then we also, as a council, met with all of our different departments and talked about the concern for revenue throughout the year, not just the property tax revenues, but also income tax revenues. And as Jacob described, it was very iffy in that June installment, and then improved significantly, but we still didn't achieve as much revenue as we thought we might actually have. And one of the things that the council did was challenge all the different departments to really have some austerity and think about what was needed versus what we had planned to spend. And so all the departments did a really nice job, both those that moved through our general funds as well as others like water, wastewater, et cetera, that aren't necessarily part of general funds, but certainly have an impact on our ability to have cash and operate. I just would applaud everyone involved, particularly our employees and our department leaders, for doing those things. And then Vince and David again met with the same group late last year, and then to start the year we met, Vince and I as president, vice president, met again, and it's been really good communications with both fire and police representatives. And I think we met recently and said we'd like to try and do something here. I know I'm going on a bit here, but I think it's important for us to just share with the public that we've been working hand in hand and doing the best we can together to plan for both the short term and the long term. I think our concerns now look towards 2022 and what revenues will be coming there, and what revenues actually do come in this year in June and December again. So with that, I think I just wanted to make a clarification that this would not only start from this point forward with the pay rate being comparable to the 3%, but we would go back and catch up our firefighters and police officers with the months of January and February as well to this point.
Okay, great. I think it's important that, council takes a very serious look at their commitments, and moving forward, we plan on upholding those commitments, but nobody actually knows what the future will bring. But at this point in time, we can honor that commitment and move forward. If there was no other discussion, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor, Ordinance 1338 as written, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Sorry, Mr. President, I will abstain from the vote.
Oh, you're abstaining.
I'm abstaining.
Okay.
So everyone knows, I'm a member of the union that represents the police department, so I will abstain from this vote.
Okay. It would be, to correct that, it would be 4-0. Thank you, David.
401.
401.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 2021-1, a resolution of the town of Speedway, Indiana, improving economic development agreement and other matters related. I believe Tim Gropp.
Good evening, council. This resolution before you is in relation to the 1300 block project. The economic development agreement was approved at the last, in substantial form, was approved at the last Speedway Redevelopment Commission. There are certain provisions within that economic development agreement, mostly related to the financing structure of, it's essentially an economic development bond, structured a little bit differently, that would require some commitments from the town. So that is why we're bringing forward the economic development agreement to the town council this evening. Sorry to be looking at my phone. Our attorney couldn't be here, so she gave me notes so I don't mess this up. So it is a very lengthy economic development agreement. I will say that it has taken us a lot longer than anticipated to put this together, but especially in light of what happened down the road from this project, we wanted to make sure we were extra careful, very thorough, and had explored every possible scenario. So that's what's taken us so long. The resolution before you, again, is consenting to the economic development agreement in substantial form. I say substantial form because there's still a few, nothing major would be able to change, but we still have a few of the attachments at the end that need to be put in together. This is also step one of a lengthy process. I included in your packet a timeline of approvals, and there are several ancillary documents that are still to be drafted after we move on from the economic development agreement. So in particular, you are consenting to the terms and conditions of the agreement, essentially that the agreement exists with respect to the project, agreeing to satisfy obligations under Article 5, which is economic development incentives, that we'll take our best efforts to take steps necessary to approve the bond issuance, basically saying we will commit to what we're promising. Article 6, closing. The town has certain deliverables at closing, specifically related, again, to the issuance of the bonds. And Article 3, which is mutual assistance. The town agrees to comply with all laws in connection with the agreement and to act in good faith with the economic development agreement. Also making representations that the town has the power to fulfill these obligations, and agreeing that the town, all the general, what we call the general boilerplate type provisions of the agreement, which are terms, counterparts, severability amendments, could be party to those as well. So essentially the resolution, this is the economic development agreement, step one of the lengthier process, and we're asking town council to approve the economic development agreement tonight. I'm happy to answer any specific questions on the agreement to the best I can. Again, it's a lengthy agreement. And then we have the developer, Shelby Bowen, is here to answer any and all questions regarding the actual project for you as well.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2021-01 this evening.
Second?
Okay, I got a motion and a second, so I'll open up for any questions for Tim.
Actually, if Shelby could, hi Shelby,
Councilor Lindsay.
how are you, sir?
Mr. President, members of the council, good to see everybody again. Thank you for the invitation to talk about 1300 block. As Tim said, it's been we've spent a lot of time together the last few years. We've actually owned this property over 2 years. And I'm proud of the fact that we've been patient because we've had some stops and starts. And I think where we ended was really a perfect project for this site and location for the town and for us. And so I'm excited the way that once we said, you know, we think this is the sweet spot, we've really gotten serious and spent a lot of time. And again, to Tim's and Annalise Williams' credit and the rest of the team, it's a very detailed agreement, but I'm comfortable with that because I've stood before you many times and said, here are the obligations I can meet, and I think that's a fair way to approach it. And so I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions.
One that's come up, and I know we spoke about this, condos.
Yes, sir.
For the project.
Yes.
And I will tell you, I did not read every word of the 48-page document that was sent to us.
Yes.
I did review it, but there are condos that are included within this,
That's right.
correct?
Yes, sir.
I would like to say that I would like to see all condos in it.
Sure.
I know we've had that conversation. I think that some of the rest of us on the council have had that conversation as well with you.
Yes, sir.
I know we spoke about it, but I want to be heard that that's what I would like to see.
Yes, sir.
I definitely think there's a market for that along Main Street. I'm encouraged by the project. I think it looks great. I appreciate your willingness to work with us and to stick with us for as long as you have. So
Yeah. And so we've designed the project in a way where we could transfer each of the units as condominiums. A lot of that's going to be driven by demand. The only caveat that Tim and I have discussed is contemplation of there is a minimum taxpayer agreement based on the rental product, so we'd probably have to sit back down with the town if we did sell condos and adjust that accordingly. But it will be driven by demand. We've already been receiving calls, and so you'll receive regular updates as to the condominiums.
There's a minimum 4.
Yeah, there's a minimum 4, but really the flexibility and full transparency is it's difficult to finance a project that's all condominiums and a little bit of commercial, and so I appreciate that you all have been good partners to kind of help us get this going, and then my stewardship in keeping my word that we'll try to do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
How many units total?
12 total, 10 on the second floor, 2 on the top floor.
And the outside 2 on floor 2 are condos?
I'm sorry?
The
Yes,
ones
sir.
on either
On the
end of
corners,
second
yes, sir.
floor?
Yeah, and they have larger balcony. I mean, they're just really cool units, and the layout is fantastic. I mean, I would expect, even the one next to it that's small, I mean, I agree with you that there's probably a demand even for a small one-bedroom condo and everything in between. So we will certainly find out very quickly once we, of course, have everything in place where we can, with confidence, put them up for sale.
Could you tell the council when you plan on marketing those condos and
Sure.
apartments?
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a critical step. Even though we've been spending a lot of money, really don't have control over the property. And, I mean, although we've been marketing them softly, but until we close, probably, I just am not entirely comfortable agreeing to sell something to somebody I don't yet own. But we're having those discussions.
Sure.
Good.
Shelby, I want to thank you for the patience that you mentioned earlier. I think, but I'd also thank you for the excellent work you've been doing out in the interstate.
Yeah,
Founder
thank you.
Square is being very well received in the public
Good.
by our residents, as well as lots of questions from the news media. Folks that are outside of our town are excited to know what we're building, what you're building
Good.
there. And I think that, you're proving your worth there, and the patience that you had out there just getting that project going and dealing with COVID the way you have. So we're excited to continue to move forward with you, and thank you for the efforts that you
Sure.
put forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think I've said this before, but we are just finishing up and leasing a project in Plainfield that is similar in style. And so if people are interested to kind of see what the Rebar brand and quality is, and that's been very well received. It's really actually record-breaking lease-up on that project, and I think is indicative of let's work together, deliver a nicer product. We know people want to be here, and that's kind of been our focus all along. So,
Yeah.
One other thing I'd like to point out,
Yes,
because
sir.
I don't want everyone to think this is just a condo building.
Right.
There's retail that's going to be there on the first floor.
yeah, it's very exciting, actually, and I think State of the Town will have at least one announcement. I anticipate maybe a second announcement on the end caps of those spaces that are going to be fantastic additions to the town and Main Street that I'm excited to share with you all here very quickly.
For the neighborhood, you put in a pocket park, basically?
Yes, a plaza. It's really, we still have to work to try to make it the very best it can be. So right now, we're starting with the basics and going to sit down and make sure we kind of meet your expectations on that plaza. But yeah, I expect it to be a really kind of central, programmed, energetic amenity for everybody that's on Main Street, not just the folks who are in our building.
So that will be open to the public,
That's right.
from that standpoint.
That's right. Yeah, and it'll have, just some really, even the basics of like fire pit and a stage for various, simple kind of pop-up events, and we'll have some outdoor dining adjacent to it that'll really give it some cool energy, and I expect it's going to be a fun place to hang out.
Now, is that a property that the town will be responsible for taking care of in the future, or is that?
Yeah, you'll own it.
Your control.
It'll be your public plaza, and ultimately, that benefits the town because you'll have full control over what happens there and what it looks like into perpetuity. So we're going to work with the town to finish the design, detail, and construct it, but ultimately, you'll own it and maintain it.
Okay?
Shelby, another question. It's a good question. All the buildings we planned, we've looked at parking. Can you talk a little bit about the parking
Sure.
that you're going to supply?
You know, I'm proud of our team generally because we didn't just try to cram as much as we could on that block. I think we were more sensitive to the fact that we wanted to have adequate parking both for our guests, our employees, the folks who live there, and their guests. We have a tremendous amount of parking in that particular project that I think is just extraordinary based on kind of what the current crunch is. So there'll be plenty of parking for our folks.
Great. Any other questions for Shelby? Well, thank you for
Sure.
stepping up and doing a really good job at this point in time.
Thank you.
There's no other questions. I'm going to call for a vote on Resolution 2021-01. All those in favor can signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Shelby.
Tim, I think you're up on this one too. We got next on the agenda is modification to the encroachment application for Main Street.
Yeah, in 2018, we approved an encroachment ordinance for the use of Main Street right-of-way. This was not to be punitive in any means. It was to just outline the ability for our Main Street businesses to utilize the public right-of-way. The way Main Street's set up, all the sidewalk area in front of the businesses are public right-of-way. So we needed to make sure that it's being utilized, but that they're also protecting the taxpayers of the community. So within that ordinance and that application, it allowed for the town manager to make minor modifications as deemed necessary. With us not having a town manager at the current time, it seemed appropriate to bring back the modifications to the town council for approval. With it being March, we're going to start getting requests for utilization of the right-of-way. The changes that we have added came from last year. We noticed, everyone trying to adapt in COVID. We had a lot of pop-up tents being utilized in front of businesses, which is fine in general. However, pop-up tents are regulated to some degree from the state of Indiana. They also, depending on the size, can limit the ADA accessibility. So we needed to put those requirements. They must be inspected by our building commissioner. They must be tied down appropriately and in good condition as well. They also cannot block your front entrance. That creates a fire hazard. So we included this section on pop-up tents in there, again, not to restrict anyone's uses, but to make sure that the town is insured and that the business owner acknowledges these facts in this ordinance, or in this application. So that's what's before you this evening.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the modification to the encroachments application for Main Street.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. I'll open up to any questions for Tim.
I have a question. I know there are several businesses, planning events for St. Patrick's Day. When will this go into effect, and are we notifying them right away, or?
This goes in effect immediately, and we don't typically mail out. I mean, this has been an ordinance on the books for somewhere to the business license. However, we probably will send this one out to everybody since there was a modification to it, and just a reminder. We enforced it in 2018 when it came on the books. We were pretty lenient on it last year due to COVID, so it's probably a good reminder to everyone to have it sent out, so we can do that this week.
So this is also in compliance with Marion County health restrictions for gatherings and things like that. Can't
Yeah.
put 20 people in a 10 by 10 tent or whatever.
Yeah, we don't regulate what they use it for, but in this case, yeah, any kind of regulations under the COVID restrictions would still have to go through the county health department. This is more to make sure that insurance is on file and that they're aware of ADA accessibility and any requirements we have for that.
Sure. Is there any other questions for Tim? Not, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of modifications to the encroachment application for Main Street signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Next is the approval of claims and utility adjustments from the town clerk treasurer, Jacob Blaisdell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The claims presented to you represent those made from February 19th through March 5th, and I'll take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
Mr. President,
After you, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the claims as presented by our clerk treasurer.
Get a motion?
second.
Can you give me a second? Okay. Right, I got a motion and a second. Is there any questions for our town clerk treasurer? Hearing none. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the claims submitted by the town clerk treasurer, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. And adjustments?
Adjustments presented represent the same time period, February 19th through March 5th. There's a couple of billing adjustments and one leak adjustment, and would appreciate your approval on those as well.
So,
Mr.
you know,
President,
that we have a motion.
move that we approve the adjustments as presented by clerk treasurer.
Can I get a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I get a motion and a second. Any questions for Jacob concerning adjustments? What kind of dollar amount are you talking about on adjustments, Jacob?
So most of them are, a couple of them are small. The total amount of the adjustment represents $1.48 for water, $1.58 for sewer, and then $2.70 that's represented unmetered.
That's running it tight. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate the work. Okay, are there any other questions for the town clerk treasurer? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the adjustments as submitted by the town clerk treasurer, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, next is the report from our department supervisors. First up would be Tim Gropp,
Again?
again.
Sorry, Chief.
I'll try to be brief, but there is a lot going on around town. So, real quick on Wilshaw, I don't have an elaborate update this evening other than to tell everyone that there is a lot of work happening behind the scenes, a lot of conversations going on. The current developer is working on a path to move forward as quickly as possible. At the same time, we're working on options B and C if necessary so we're trying to evaluate all options, have some different routes on path, and then put it all together. So everybody's aware of the time crunch. We want to see everything moving forward as quickly as possible, one way or the other. We're evaluating all those options. All parties, Skano, Wilhelm, MHG, Loftus Robinson, the town are in communication and working through the issues. So hopefully next meeting we'll be able to have a better update for you with some additional details. Just know we are working on it. Town Hall, or the Speedway Municipal Center, I will get it. Speedway Municipal Center is moving along. I am pleased to announce that we received our temporary certificate of occupancy today. So tomorrow morning, the Town Hall administration team from the annex will be moving into their new offices and starting to work out of that building. With that said, this is a temporary occupancy because there's still quite a bit of work going on there. So we're no way ready to host public meetings. We're hoping, we're scheduled to do that starting in April. The police department, I won't say too much. I don't want to take Chief's thunder there, but they have started their move today. And we will be working through all the different logistics and finishing up all the details of the project over the next several weeks. A lot of that is exterior, as I've mentioned before. Hopefully the plant's open soon. I believe a couple have, and we'll be able to get pavement on site. But the building's looking fantastic. We're really excited to be starting and jumping into kind of the next phase, which is all the details and figuring out how to unlock doors and how to clean the building and all those other fun stuff. So we're really excited to show it off to the public, but give us a few weeks to figure out what we're doing first. So, and then Founders Square. So everyone who's gone out by the interstate has seen the steel. That is Aldi. Just so there's no confusion there. They are moving full force and they're trying to open by June. We'll see if they hit that or not. But they are, right now, I wouldn't bet against them. Also, we should be seeing a groundbreaking very soon with Crew Car Wash. We are in review plans for the Hampton Inn, and there was an announcement this week. I'll hopefully have additional details that Speedway was awarded 9% tax credits on a senior living facility. It's 55 and older, age-restricted housing. So just to be clear, there's not a medical component to that. But we're excited about all these projects. That project is filling in very nicely, and we should see a lot of activity out by the interstate this building season. Happy to answer any questions.
Tim, I don't have a question, but I'd like to thank you for the work you've done with the Town Hall, Municipal Center. You've taken, I don't know if people have noticed, but you've been a little busy here lately. You've taken on a lot of more responsibility, and I greatly appreciate that, including getting a frame for the proclamation tonight. So, I mean, I greatly appreciate the hard work.
Here.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Tim.
Appreciate it.
Tim, just a question.
Yes.
Maybe it was said when Shelby was presenting, you were presenting the project on 1400 block. Any idea when the construction of that would start?
Yeah.
Did you mention that earlier?
There were a couple details. You didn't call me back up. There are a couple details I'd like to give. So it's about a $6.2 million project. He mentioned the parking. One of the early requirements was that this block parks itself. You know, we ran into those problems on some other issues. So he does, with having 12 units and some retail, there's plenty of parking in this block. So we're excited about that. And yeah, so one of the issues is some of the retail tenants looking at it want to be in sooner than later. So we're trying to line up processes, and there's a lot of public process to this. But we're trying, he has taken on some early equity, and he's spent several $100,000s already to push the architecture forward and start the approval process on the building, so that when we line up, he's able to have all the approvals, close on the 2 loans, and start building right away. I know he'd like that to be sooner than later, but I would anticipate June-ish,
Okay.
kind of mid-year, just because of more on the public process side.
Where's his-
He's ready to go.
And it could be later, obviously.
Could be a little bit later, things could get tied up, but the financing is in place. We've started the architects have started that process, and we're moving forward.
Thank you.
And where's his project out in Plainfield? So people can go see that.
It's called the Barlow. I
I
think
believe
it's,
it's at Center Road and US 40.
Okay,
glad
the old
you
downtown
mentioned that,
area.
because
yeah.
I don't know
Where
Plainfield.
267 comes in and you hang a right, it's a neat project.
So, he was just saying they've been open 2 weeks and they're almost 100% capacity, so it's great.
And what, is that a mixed use as well too? Does it have apartments and,
Uh,
or condos?
Is it mixed use?
I don't know. I don't know the
I
details.
think it's 100% apartments, to be honest, but I'd have to confirm that.
There may be retail in base.
There could be.
They already had retail attached to some of that, my son lives out there, but it's all living, I mean, it's all condos and that's.
Great.
And thank you, David. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well deserved.
Next up, Jim, Chief Campbell.
I'll thank him as soon as he does a couple of projects for us, but, right?
Well,
Yeah, okay. He knows. But anyway, he's right. We're moving tomorrow. So for the public, physically, the folks that were here will now be at the new building, and we'll be ready for business. Our dispatchers will come back from Perry probably Wednesday. And I hope you appreciate what it's taken for them to be there and do. If you listen to the radio, you'd swear they were still in our building. So PSC and our communication folks have done an outstanding job of keeping this working.
we had our actual public safety planning meeting. We still have no details on fans. I think you guys follow the news, and we do still think no concerts, which does impact public safety. We're still working with federal, state, local agencies. I mean, there's just so many moving parts to that. But our SEER 2 coordinator kind of brought his boss and some other folks from DC. We've met with them, and, everybody, I think there's, and again, it's nothing, I think they're so impressed with the security and the level at which we do what we do at the track. They're just amazed with that. So, and again, it's a joint effort, police, fire, there's a whole lot of folks from Speedway involved in that whole operation. Our 2 new officers will graduate from ILEA on April 16th, which will allow us to put them right to work because they've had FTO and some other things that will enable us to do that. I would pass along, I know it was in the paper, but Gary Donaldson passed away, and he did 24 years at Speedway, did 21 years at the sheriff. We went up and gave a flag to the family this afternoon, and the funeral's actually tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Lastly, we are going to do a neighborhood watch. It's going to be virtual, but the folks at Brixmore have voluntarily agreed to come to that virtual, and, I know there's been questions about what are they doing up there and how's it going. That would be a golden opportunity for anybody that has a question to go into details with the people that are responsible, for Brixmore and that whole shopping center area. That's it.
When is that crime watch meeting, Chief?
It will be March 23rd from 6 to 8. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Good?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Fisherman?
I will try to be short. First, I want to apologize for my voice. A triple overtime sectional championship game is not good for me to be at and to be cheering, so, first thing I'd like to do is let you know we are completely done with all our entire department's work performance evaluations. Call them WPEs as a part of that. We go over to a state certified training center at Wayne, which we have a contract with, and we supply all of the peer fitness evaluators. Beech Grove helps us by supplying the medics, and then we share those responsibilities, and both departments are able to get their WPEs out of the way. Our planner was in the planning meeting with Sam and Chuck, and Chief Milhorn was there because he and Chuck are operations, so we continue to work forward with that. And Jim's doing a great job because all those meetings are virtual now, and it's different than it's always been, but we look forward to a time where it gets back to some sort of normalcy. I would be remiss if I did not thank you as a department head for the salary ordinance. Jacob, getting in the weeds, getting those numbers, being transparent with our contract committee just was huge. Gary and Vince, in lieu of a town manager, you guys have had lots of those meetings with both bargaining units, and I know that's not easy. And so as a department head, I thank you, and I'm sure that, the powers to be in those negotiating teams will also thank you, but it's really good for morale, and I think with the numbers coming back, I just think it was the right thing to do. That also being said, I really want to thank Jacob and Tim and the council, because I know without a town manager, Jacob's had to assume roles both as clerk, treasurer, town manager. Tim has been doing the job of a town manager and a redevelopment commission
director. And all of you, I know, have other jobs as counselors, and they have other jobs too that don't include picking up that slack. I know our department heads do a great job, Luke with water and Norm with wastewater and Rob with streets and Chief Campbell, Chief Upchurch with police, but I know what they've had to do with a move, a budget, COVID, and I know you guys have had a yeoman amount of meetings with liaisons and all those sorts of things. And it doesn't, I know you thank us a lot, but the public should know that this hasn't been a normal year for council members and for other department heads. So I really appreciate the effort in that. And that's all I have unless you have questions.
Any questions for Bob?
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Tammy Smith?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So it's an evening of thanks because I want to thank especially Tim Gropp. I'm so excited about getting into the building and being able to organize my office tomorrow. I have felt just really pulled in every which way. And I know Tim called me one day, he needed something notarized, and I'm like, oh, great, my notary stamp is somewhere in one of those totes. And so we were going to meet the next morning, and fortunately, he got there before me, and the very first tote he looked at, he found my notary stamp. So so it's been kind of fun and a juggling act, but I'm so excited about tomorrow. And Bob is right, Tim has really been instrumental in making this project a success, so I'm excited for the public to see the new building as well. It's a new fun addition. I think it's going to be great and well received. Later this week, I'm going to be attending, well, it's a virtual, IPRA, Indiana Parks and Recreation Association Roundtable, and I'm real excited about it. The focus is small parks departments, so I'm excited to see what I can take from there and maybe even give back to them. So that'll be fun. I'm working with the schools presently on summer camps. Last year, we had to cancel all of our summer camps, and we will have some form of summer camps, but we're working on how we are going to be modifying those. We don't have the official approval from the Parks Board, from the school board. That'll be in April, but we don't really see a problem with it, so we are moving forward with planning. And Chuck Bennett is very instrumental in helping me plan these summer camps. So some modifications, for example, the summer swim lessons that we offer. I know I've been getting a lot of inquiries about that. We will be making modifications of those because the very little kids, the youngest ones that don't know how to swim or are a little apprehensive of the water, our instructors hold them and carry them around. We will not be doing that for these lessons since we are still in somewhat of a COVID environment. But we will probably offer that to where a parent or an older sibling or another family member that can swim will be in the water with those children. That's probably what we're looking at. So we're still trying to work a lot of that stuff out. Summer concerts, looking ahead. I'm in the process of starting to request donations. As of now, I have not received any for this year, and as everyone knows, all of our summer concerts are paid for by donations. So hopefully we will get those. Last year, unfortunately, we only received 40%, but we were fortunate that some of the bands actually offered us a discount, so we were still able to get 4 concerts in. So I'm in a lot of communications with people, and I feel confident that we'll have some form of concerts this summer. April 1st, I plan on having a little kickoff, kind of the official opening of the parks. Our bathrooms open April 1st, and they're open till the end of October. So we're going to have a little whodunit clue game that families can participate in. We'll have a flyer available. We'll probably have it online. And then people can spend the next week and a half kind of going around looking for the clues and trying to figure out who done it. So look forward for some of that information. I'm real excited to offer that. And that's all I have today. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Luke Adams.
Good evening. We'll begin with the street department. Now that the asphalt plants are open back up with the warmer temperatures, Rob and his guys can get hot mix asphalt and have been patching the potholes. They also started painting curbs and crosswalks throughout town and continued the street sweep. At the waterworks, we're starting to wake things up at the surface water treatment plant. We are changing shaft bearings on our paddles, cleaning the intake structure and settling basins, calibrating instruments, and servicing pumps. Our valve and actuator project at the groundwater plant has been completed with no issues. So far, everything's working as it should. Well number 12, it's been out for a few weeks now. Baston Logan was able to make the necessary repairs to salvage the well, and they installed a new pump today. Should be putting that back online tomorrow. We have them scheduled starting tomorrow to clean and provide a report on all 13 wells, pumps, and motors. This will give us a good foundation on where we need to begin to make the necessary updates. Our distribution crew has been working on locates and, as you know, fixing broken water mains and keeping up with the servicing of all equipment to make their day-to-day tasks possible. So far this year, we've had 9 water main breaks. Last week, we hauled out roughly 20 triaxles of spoils from all of our water main breaks from the winter. They've been cleaning up the area. We had nowhere to put them, so we had to put them all at the shop. And as soon as we thought we had some downtime, we're getting 2 or 3 more. So we finally got all that hauled out. Now that the weather is changing, we will soon be landscaping the affected areas with the fresh topsoil, seed and straw matting, and asphalting our excavations that were in the streets. We also will be fire hosing the streets of the affected areas. Moving on to sanitation, Norman and his guys, it's business as usual. For the month of February, they treated and released 113 million gallons of water to Eagle Creek. That's all I got.
Any
questions?
questions for Luke?
No questions, just a huge thank you to you and your team. Did you say 9?
9 that we've repaired.
9
We've
that
had
we've repaired.
13 in our system as a whole.
Yeah.
A few of those were private, but 9 total that we've had, and that's quite a bit for up to this point from January to
Yeah.
March
A
8th.
couple of them have been pretty rough.
Right,
So,
yeah, and we'll have them throughout the year, but at least that time you can put t-shirts on and it's warm, so we don't mind to get wet.
Think of swimming.
And even when it's cold, the warmest, the guys are fighting who's going to make the repair, because that's usually where the warmest part is in the whole working. So, yeah, we appreciate the recognition.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I'd like to say I appreciate the communication that when the breaks happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy not to hear from you lately.
I'm big on communication. I try. Sometimes I might throw too much detail, but
No.
I don't think there's ever be too much.
Greatly do like the emails, but I'm glad we haven't heard them in a few days, so
Luke,
appreciate that.
Luke, I like your hat. You're really moving it up a notch. Norm will have to get another hat. He's gonna-
It's actually a couple sizes too small. I had to stretch it pretty good before I put it on. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah. Kelly.
Good evening. First, I wanted to thank you for approving now 4 events coming this summer to Main Street. I've been in contact with several of the business owners. They're beyond thrilled that we're going to have some new faces and excitement on Main Street again this year. I've been working closely with Todd Cunningham on Bike Night. They have a lot of involvement. That's going to be the 3rd Wednesday of each month, May through October. A lot of the businesses have already agreed to be involved, but if there are any out there that are interested in having specials or being involved in any other way with all these new events, send me a message and I'll connect you with the event planners for those events. Run 317, they're really going strong at getting both volunteers and runners registered for their event. Today, we posted from the Speedway Community Television YouTube channel a promotional video. It does a great job of outlining exactly what Run 317 is, how to get involved, how to register. And I did want to remind everyone that with the bigger crowds coming in this year, we will need more volunteers. This is benefiting the Lions Club of Speedway, who then turns around and supports our parks programming and many, many other activities in the community. So if you are willing and able to get out and volunteer, please check out the Run 317 website. I believe it's just run317.com. And check out that YouTube video, which is youtube.com/Speedway Community TV. That's where you can see all the great work that our guys have been working on at the cable station. Tammy and I have been working on farmers market planning for this year. The Parks Department will be taking on the farmers market this year for the first time. We have named it the Market on Main, and we're working with some past vendors to get that up and running and hopefully get it much bigger and more inclusive of all of our businesses on Main Street this year. We have some meetings tomorrow with a couple business owners who want to get involved and try to really expand this into something much bigger than it has been in the past. We have several vendors already registered with us, ready to go. We're working with both the Marion County Public Health Department as well as the State Health Department to make sure we're up to code on everything. Tammy and I both received a registration for a farmers market certificate training program through the Purdue Extension. We received a grant from the USDA to be able to attend that, and so we'll officially know what we're doing here in a few weeks. But until then, we're trying our best, and it seems to be going really well, and we're very excited. I did want to let you know we're almost finished with the state of the town. It's been a lot more editing than we anticipated. It's a lot easier when you're standing there live and we can't change what you say, but now going through and editing those together, putting each individual presentation together, adding some B-roll over top of it, making sure it's something that really reflects what we're wanting it to say to the community. It's a lot harder than a live event, I think, for our guys. So we will have that out and ready sometime early next week. And that should be on our YouTube page as well as on the cable station. So I think if you don't have any other questions, that's all I've got for you.
Any other questions?
Kelly, I have a quick question.
Yep.
So on boards and commissions, is there, I know that on our website it has a place for them to complete an application.
Correct.
Do you also have on there which ones are looking or have open positions?
It needs updated.
Okay.
Based on the last few months of appointing people, and I can get that done this week and get an announcement out to the community of what we're still looking for and a little bit about those boards and commissions that have vacancies.
Okay. And then the other thing I have for you is in regards to the modification for the encroachment, and I know it's probably either you or Tim probably making sure that the restaurants are aware of that. But I think most of all in there was that they seek John's approval for any tents and things, especially if you got something coming up pretty quickly for St. Patrick's Day and stuff.
Right, and that's kind of why I jumped up and said something, because I just recently found out that several of our local businesses are looking at ways to expand their storefronts in terms of St. Patrick's Day, because that's a big celebration day in Speedway.
Well, and the other, a few years back, they needed something outside just because of the weather. So.
Right. So we will make sure, Tim and I already texted him over here and told him what we can do. So we'll go ahead and get a letter out to the business owners and make sure they're aware that they can just contact John and figure out what it is that they need to do to make that happen. We want to make sure we're aiding all of our businesses and getting more people in the door, especially now that restrictions have been slightly lifted. I can tell you firsthand, Main Street has been crazy the past week. Everyone's itching to get out and have some fun. So I hope to see everyone downtown.
And John coordinates with us if there's an issue with egress and all of that.
Okay.
And thanks, Tim.
Okay. Next was a report from councilor members. We'll start off with Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Yeah, so really just this evening to sort of follow up with a couple of the questions I had for Kelly was mainly to say, I know this evening we did an appointments for the Arts Commission, but there are other boards and commissions out there that do need some vacancies filled. So please visit our website, fill out those applications, reach out to a counselor, whatever it is, because it is the help that we need from you all to be able to do what we can here. And then really just thanks to all of our staff members on their hard work. I know moving a business is not easy by any means, and it really interrupts things. Jacob's going to find out here real soon when he's moving his crew.
This morning.
And I know police is going through that right now as well, too. So obviously a lot of patience, but thanks to Tim and Jacob for stepping up and doing the extra work and getting that done, because that is huge. And I know it's you guys will be glad to see when it's completed. So it is really looking nice down there. So I'm super excited to see it when it's completely done. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. Councilor Gary Pettigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. I want to remind everybody that has not yet decided to get the COVID vaccination. When you're eligible, please do. As I think everybody knows, the age requirement now has been lowered to age 50 and above. So reading an article online here just yesterday, still a fairly decent percentage of the population seems to still be opposed to getting the vaccination. So I would encourage everybody to reconsider that if you're one of those opposed, and get the vaccination. I think it just can help you and your family, and in fact, it can help all of us. And finally, there was a big push, I don't know, several years back, to support public safety by replacing your front porch light with a blue bulb. And I'd like to ask everybody that has not yet done that, or has never figured out what that blue light is all about, to replace your porch light with a blue light. And you can get those at any of the box stores. That's all I have.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councilor David Lindsay.
Only comment I have tonight is under our department supervisor's report, the schools were listed. Having Dr. Trebley here this evening with us, and he's not here. I'm not for sure if that's some miscommunication on our part or their part, but I'm disappointed. From my comments at the meeting the 1st of February, I think there needs to be some better communication from him and his staff and the schools, and I'm disappointed that they're not here this evening. That's all I've got.
Okay. Vice President Gary Riggs.
Thank you. I guess just a couple things. I'd like to thank the Lions Club for putting an end to winter. On Saturday, the Lions Club took down the snowflakes that were on Main Street. Winter is officially over. The weather's been a little better, so that's great news there. Seriously, the Lions put those up in December, late November, early December, and just took them down. And Lions Club does great work in the town. Even when we're not able to park cars last year, the Lions were still able to give in different ways around town. So they and other philanthropic groups in town need to be recognized. Vince and I had an opportunity to meet with Andy O'Gara and Sarah Fisher last week, and talked to them the week before that. And then the following day they made a formal announcement that the 1911 Grill was being transitioned to Brazzini's Pizzeria. And we had a chance to meet James Cross and his fiancee Molly, who operate Brazzini's. They have 3 locations, one on the south side of Indianapolis, Whiteland, Greenwood area, and another one in Nashville, Indiana, and another one down on the panhandle of Florida. And my understanding, first of all, we had taste test. That was a nice part of the meeting as well, and a few others from town got to go to that. But my understanding is that people from north side of Indianapolis, Hamilton County, Boone County, drive all the way to the south side to this location. So we're excited to see them come sometime in mid-April. And Sarah and Andy will continue to operate Speedway indoor karting, as well as their private meeting space, and they'll partner with this with James and Molly. They'll provide food and drink, and then the SIK and events management will still manage their event space. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity just to tell everybody that it's important that we stay alert, and we definitely have to keep, if you see something that you think is wrong out there, absolutely call it in to dispatch. We've got great professionals that can address anything that comes up. And I think first we have to alert them of what's going on. They can't be everywhere in town, but with the help of our neighbors, we can watch out on their homes, vehicles. It's important that we stay alert and definitely keep the police informed. Also, Chief Fishburne, was sorry to lose my neighbor. He moved away from me, but I gained another policeman, and the traffic on Auburn has miraculously slowed down. With that police car sitting out front, it's amazing what it does to people driving up and down the street. I want to thank you, Chief. And Chief, I'm sorry that we lost a good neighbor on that standpoint, but I'll take a policeman right now. We're doing good.
Firefighter selling to a police officer is great.
Well, if there's nothing else to come before the council tonight, I'm going to adjourn at 8:15.